You guys have your weapon systems in place, but there are many that may be new. One of the things that I get a lot of is used to be people that were preparing. You'd sometimes get a look of, oh, okay. I had a guy, in fact, at my church one time that he said, oh, you're one of those hoarders. And I said, no, my name is Porter, P-O-R-T-E-R. But, one of the things about the whole mindset, and I think of many people, is they've seen what's going on in the country, and so they're really starting to question. And like I did a video I guess it was last year. It said preppers are crazy, and the tagline though was, "But they're not as crazy as they used to be," and that's getting more and more prevalent. In fact, I find people all the time coming up to me, not necessarily people that know what I do, that are getting concerned. But what we're going to talk about today is your personal firearms. And we're going to go in a couple of different veins because, I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Modern Survival Guide for the Coming Economic Collapse, and it's written by Furfau, it talks about the economic collapse down in Argentina. And one of the things that he said was as things broke down and as things started to collapse, it wasn't this SHTF, this is the day. This is the one day that it happens. It was a increase in crime, a massive increase, and it just got worse and worse. And I'll tell you what, guys, today we are looking at a continual increase in crime. I know down in South Carolina, in fact, just this past week, there was a family that was completely murdered, right in the home. I think there were 6 people. We see a lot of violence going on all around us, and there are a lot of things that we don't hear about. So the first thing I want you to consider is not necessarily the end of the world. I want the first thing for you to consider is your personal SHTF, and that means being face down at the butt of a gun or with someone with a knife or being accosted. I was sitting here earlier when Scott Hunt got up, Engineer 775, which is a really good friend of mine, and I was really looking forward to hearing his speech. And I thought, let me run and go grab some coffee. And I ended up, William Forreston and I went over and had coffee over at a little place over here and sat down and talked. I had he's just a brilliant guy. And I know as you watched him speak, I love to hear him speak. Such a brilliant mind. But he was talking about an incident, and he said, Don, I had one of the most horrific incidences that I've ever faced just last week. And he said, I was getting gas. He goes, I was heading to do this talk, and I was in an area I really wasn't familiar with, and I was getting gas. It was kind of late in the evening. And a gentleman pulled up beside him and was trying to force him to give him gas. And pretty big guy. And he said, I always keep a little Ruger 380 in my pocket. He goes, always do, but guess what? And I'm going to tell you what, guys, it ended up, William's a big guy, and it ended up that the guy ended up leaving. But here's the situation. Whenever you think, it's okay, you know what, I'm just going to run up here to the store. That's when it happens. It happens in everyday life. It's happening in people's driveways in the mornings when they're headed to work. It's heading, obviously, at the gas station quite a bit here lately. It happens sometimes at a red light. I had a good friend of mine that was driving through Atlanta, and he lives in Atlanta, and was going to the airport, and he had a trailer hitch on the back of his truck, and he said, I had just hit my shin on that dumb trailer hitch. And so he was driving through, and some guy behind him bumped into his car and said, on foot, and was holding his shin. He fell down. He goes, and he goes, man, the first thing I thought about was that stupid trailer hitch. And he got out of the car, and then he went, and he reached back in. He just kind of tucked his pistol back. Well, when he got back there, he noticed there were some other guys in the bushes over there, and ended up, he pulled it out. That was a split-second decision to have his firearm on him. I don't want you to be paranoid in some ways. I don't think you need to be fearful all the time. But you know what? I'm not necessarily going to go buy something to eat right now, but I have my billfold on me. I'm not necessarily going to need the money in my billfold for the next hour or two, but I have it on me at all times. Just like having things, I have a small little revolver sitting in my pocket right here. Am I paranoid? No. But you know what? If I get myself in a situation, I want to be able to protect myself and my family. And that is the number one prep, is yourself, being able to protect yourself, and then that translates into your family. Now, speaking of family, I've got a picture here of a real rough crowd, and you don't really probably want to run into them. These are my kids, and we spent a day at the range. One of the things we're going to look at, though, is preparing not only yourself. You know, a lot of times, especially on YouTube, I get a lot of messages from people saying, well, you know, you say you're a Christian, but yet you have guns, and what's up with that? And what about thou shalt not kill? And well, listen, thou shalt not kill is going out and killing someone. Defending yourself and defending your family is not the word used for kill. The word used for kill in the Bible is thou shalt not murder. If someone, I don't ever want to, you know what? I don't ever want to shoot somebody. And I know that there's not anybody in this room that wants to shoot somebody. That's a horrible thing you have to live with. In fact, I've always laughed about it. I mean, I'm laughing about this, but if somebody breaks into my house and I have to shoot them, after I do it, and if they're dead, I'm going to kick them because I'm going to be so mad that they made me shoot them, because I know that there's a lot of things that are going to go on behind that. There's a lot of emotional things. And so we're rational people. We want to do the right thing. And listen, the only thing that can stop a guy, the bad guy with a gun, is a good guy with a gun. So, you know, and it's true. But we're living in a society today that people are mixing up what's good and bad. Now, of course, you know, we've seen situations where there's, you know, loss of control, where law enforcement can't even do anything. I mean, it's a disaster. And, you know, we look at that as the bad side, but one of the things we need to look at is panic. And in a really tough, bad situation, guys, these ladies here, they're not going to harm you necessarily. They're out to help with their families. But that same innocent woman that needs to feed her children can also turn into another direction. So we have those that are out there just to do bad and just to do harm. We're also facing those that are not preparing, that are good people today, but in a bad situation, in a grid down situation, can turn really nasty. I told my son, he's back there in the back, he asked me one time, he said, Dad, and this has been a few years ago, he said, why do you prepare? Why are you putting back food? Why are you doing these things? And I said, you know, son, I've been shooting most of my life. I love to shoot. We do a lot of competitive shooting, do a lot of training. Was wrestled in high school. I took martial arts for many years and have been in a few scuffs in my life, but I can handle myself. And, you know, if I looked at you and there was a situation where we couldn't get food, we couldn't have these things, and I said, and I looked over at you and you're hungry, you haven't eaten. I said, what's going to stop me from going up and down this road and taking whatever I want? And I said, but because I'm a Christian, because I have faith in God, I can't do that. I can't do it. I said, so you know what? I'm going to prepare. So I'm not tempted to do that. Now, the reason why we have firearms is to keep those who will be tempted from taking food out of your mouth. So, you know, having firearms is extremely important. And in these type situations, facing something like this was actually taken in Haiti. That guy that's got the stick, he is swinging that stick. He is getting ready to hit that guy. And it's not going to end well for the dude in the brown shirt. Here we go, people just breaking into a store. This is an electronics store. But, you know, it doesn't matter. It's not that necessarily people are even going to be taking food and things like that. This is one situation. In fact, when I saw this picture, it just kind of sent chills down my spine. You're in a situation, you broke down, you have this mob running towards you. I mean, what is your option?
You don't have enough magazines for that crowd.
I probably do. But I'm going to give it a good chance if I don't, I'll tell you. But, you know, the thing is, here's the thing that we're facing right now, guys, that's a little bit different than it has been over the past 20 years, is that the crowd that just wants to do harm just to do it is out there. They just want to, you know what, they have anger inside and they just want to release it. And we've really seen an increase in that over the past few years. Whether you get prepared for a grid down situation or you just need to prepare yourself for an everyday situation. Guys, the things we're going to talk about pretty much face that, at least with handguns. Okay, and then here we've got a guy with a gun driving through a grocery store. He's got his gun on him. And you know what? This guy's probably a good guy. He's probably getting food for his family. And so here's the other thing. You don't know who you're facing. You really don't. And that's not a good situation right there. That's down in Haiti. But I'm telling you guys, it could happen right here. Now, this is my solution to the problem. And then these are the guys that were in Korea during the LA riots. They armed themselves and they kept their businesses intact. You know what? We want a deterrent is what we want. Okay, the number one weapon that you have, though, the number one thing that separates and maybe even will be the salvation of your life, keeping your life, is right up here. It's right up here, and using that to the best of your ability. And that's a really important to... you can have all the guns. And I know Mike, who was up here a minute ago, and I'm going to tell you something about him. They've already gone back to the room, back to their vendor table. I've done some training with Mike, and I'm going to tell you what, man, that guy is the real deal. And if you ever get a chance, if you're down in Greenville area at Sharpshooters, that guy really knows what he's talking about. But one of the things is mindset and having the right mindset and knowing and taking time to learn and to mess with your firearms and to really get to know what you're doing. Now, there's a lot of different type weapons that you can have. Now, many of you, hopefully, there's not anybody in here that doesn't have some kind of firearm to protect themselves. And there may be, because in a crowd, a lot of times there's some people that are just scared. But choosing the right firearm, there's so many out there. But the number one thing is caliber, and having not only the right caliber, but enough of the ammunition. Now, first off, I don't know what you have, and I'm going to tell you this. It doesn't matter what you do have. You could have a 30-30 rifle and, a 38 special revolver, and that's what you're going to prepare yourself around. I'm going to tell you my philosophy. You know what? That is better than nothing, and there's a lot of 30-30 out there. There's a lot of 38 out there, and there's nothing wrong with that. But to me, I want to have the optimum I can have. So, you may be buying food. I know doing prepping and getting those things together can be very expensive, and it can be a very large part of your budget. And you can only do what you can. But what we're going to talk about is what I feel like is the optimum. Number one is ammunition. And to me, any caliber is a NATO caliber. Does anybody know why that I would choose NATO calibers for my self-defense situation? Availability.
And you're in a firefight. You pick up what they've got and keep moving.
That's right. And there's a lot of different units that use those things. And whether you're on the good side, bad side, left, right, indifferent. I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that here's the deal. 5.56, which the AR-15, 223, it's here now. It'll be here when the shooting starts. It'll be here after the shooting ends. That ammunition is going to be more available. I have an AK-47. I have a lot of 7.62 by 3.9. And those rifles are excellent. And so if you have that and you've stocked up enough ammunition, enough magazines, go for it. They're great rifles. But if you're making a decision now, I just would highly recommend looking at NATO calibers and a NATO rifle. Also, with NATO guns, like an AR-15 type rifle, is you have parts that are the same with current military rifles. And not only that, but it's one of the most popular selling guns in the country. So what you want to do is make sure, though, you have enough ammunition. Now, this is my rule of thumb for people that ask me, say, what do I need for ammunition? I would say for a rifle, and this is minimum, 1,000 rounds of rifle per rifle. Per rifle, not just at that. And I'm going to tell you what, if you've got 2 boxes and that's all you've got, please go to the gun store, go to Academy, go to Walmart, go wherever, and get you some more ammunition. And I know, and of course, I'm speaking pre this ammunition deal that we've had. It's starting to come back, but you have seen firsthand how ammunition can get gone quickly. I'll never forget going into Academy. We were at this was the weekend after Sandy Hook. And it was like, it was wiped out. And people were coming in like a deer in headlights. It was a deer in headlight situation. And They didn't know what to do. So now a lot of people are starting to change their mind. Listen, it could happen again. I know we had a shooting this week already. It's gonna happen. It's just according to what the mood is of our country. But listen, do you want to take a chance with that? I had a situation where I had an AR-15 lower receiver, just the lower. And when all that happened, and I thought, you know what, I could sell that. In fact, one of them sold for $800 on Gunbroker. I saw it, and I saw the listing, and I'm thinking, but it's a gamble. It's a gamble. Because if everything had kept going like it was, and if the assault weapons ban would have happened and all these things, then I would never have been able to get that back. So buy your ammunition. Not only ammunition, and for pistol, I would say 500 rounds of your primary pistol. Now, if you have a small little .380 for self-defense, you can probably get by with a couple of hundred rounds of that. Now, if you're asking me how much I have, I'm not going to tell you. But it's a lot. It's a lot more than that. I'm talking about minimums, guys. I mean, and having that ammunition, because here's the thing. It's not just for you. I might have